So one of the biggest things for me about everything we do at SALT is this idea of a cohesive experience. As we kind of said, Sarah designs these very intentional brands, and then we transfer that into a scenic design, and then we actually put the tools behind it to actually make it happen. But everything we do has a lot of intentionality, and where we really start with these ideas is the core message of what we're trying to do and trying to say. We usually never start with, hey, I have this cool idea and work backwards. We really try to start with what is the core message that SALT is trying to say, or whatever we're really trying to do is what is that core message. And what I wanted to do is to start by actually taking a look back at one of my favorite brands that we kind of did, which was last year. And in 2016, our brand was this very white on white, and everything you see was made up of shadows. Light and shadows was the whole idea. And there was a very intentional theme behind that. And so this idea really came from this larger idea that we're just in God's presence. We want more of God, and our whole theme was more. And the idea was that more to God is not more to us. More to us is, more, I need to work more, I need to do more, I need to get more stuff, but more to God is actually surrendering. And so this idea of this brand came from within that, of this encompassing presence of this white light and this white space. And so what you see behind me is what actually became of that. And every year, Sarah works pretty meticulously on these, what are called brand guides. And so what we have here is this book that's kind of our playbook of how does this actually play out in all the things we do. And brand guides take quite a bit of time. It usually takes a couple of weeks to kind of fully mature the whole thing through. But a brand guide is a really great thing when you have teams, because this is something that, as you can see, can be handed off to a lot of people and they know what they're following within. So we can hand that to the rest of our SALT team and everybody can kind of stay within the lines and stay within the guides. And so this shows you on this first page kind of idea of how the logos are laid out, what the logos to be used. So this year the logos were gray and then this white logo. It also shows color usage, even with your web and print color values in there. And it shows percentage usage. So the idea was that over 50% of the brand last year was white, followed by gray and a darker gray. Also shows fonts and any customization used in those fonts. So specific spacing, kerning of the text, things like that. And any kind of customization like this one, which is these kind of custom boxes that we did. And then we actually do things like this, which are actual photo usage. So how would this actually get laid out in photos? So this is the core of what our idea starts to look like. But from there, what we actually do is we translate it into something like this, which is an actual finished set design. And how do we actually get there? And so I wanted to show that actual process is we actually go into the spaces where we hold these events. And what you see here is a really neat thing is I use an iPad Pro. And I actually take pictures of the iPad Pro using an app called Paper 53. And I'm able to take pictures of it, and I can actually draw on top of that. So that's how a lot of the kind of set designs have started in the past years. We actually draw over the actual space that we're actually going to work in. And so when we went into this space last year, we go in, we take a bunch of measurements, but we actually kind of started sketching what the actual set would become. And so we kind of start by just saying, what do we think this actually translates to in a set? And that kind of gets more and more elaborate with lots of notes and different things about just things we could do, what it could look like. And then we kind of even keep just refining to what we actually end up with is a rendering. So most of our SALT sets have had 3D models and renderings like this so that the whole team really gets an idea of what it is we're going to do. And this year, as you see, what you're looking at is those right and left polygons were something we actually worked on with mod scenes out in the lobby. And we developed these kind of 3D shapes that we actually projected on. And this is what the final set looked like. And that idea, again, comes from the brand that our whole set was all white on white on white. And so those side polygons were about using white light and shadows. So everything in that was trying to really reflect that brand guide. And even so much so that if in the first session of SALT, we actually only lit the entire first session with shades of white light. So we actually used no color. So the color came in very intentionally in the second session. We kind of had this opening song that kind of blended color throughout it, bringing the tones back into it. But throughout our first session, we were very intentional about keeping to this aesthetic and this kind of minimalistic style throughout. And you can see that even these pictures you're seeing right here, which were kind of our social images, those images are very intentionally in black and white because that's part of our whole cohesive brand.